It was February 24th, 1989. Well, good Wednesday morning to you. It was on that day, February 24th, that United Airlines Flight 811 took off from Honolulu on its way to New Zealand. As the 747 climbed to its cruising altitude of 22,000 feet, the front cargo door of the plane ripped off. It was a horrible event, and people lost their lives that day, but there could have been a whole lot more loss of life had it not been for David Cronin. David was at the helm of the 747 and worked hard to land the plane. You see, all kinds of things had happened that he didn't know how to encounter. For instance, how do you fly a plane with that big a gap in it? In fact, the aerodynamics of the plane were completely changed because of the big hole in the front of the plane. As well, the plane had a full tank of fuel on board. It was much heavier than it should be for a landing, but they had to hurry back to Honolulu for the sake of everyone left on board. Well, Cronin proved to be equal to the task as he came to land the plane weighing a full 50,000 pounds heavier than it was supposed to be. The people commented on the plane that it was one of the smoothest landings they had ever encountered. How about that? You see, when United Airlines Flight 811 got into trouble, the greatest gift that Captain Cronin could give to his passengers was his experience and his good judgment. You see, the critical issue was this: was he competent enough to fly the plane that had been damaged so greatly? One of the ways for us to love our neighbor, as Jesus tells us, is to do our work as well as we can, even like David Cronin did that day. We should strive to be as competent as we can be in what it is that God has us doing. It is serving God to do the job as well as it can be done. There is always more for us to learn, always ways for us to improve, and doing that shows that we love other people. And remember this: the work that Jesus did for humanity was done with the foremost of competence. He did the work that none of the rest of us could ever do. And he did on the cross what you and I couldn't accomplish. He saved us through his work. And through what he did on the cross, you and I can be saved when we put our trust in him. He is our finest example of competence. Well, I talked to you earlier this week about masks. I got this nice big bag of them. Thanks, Diane. Big thank you to you for this big bag full of masks to use here around the church. I really like the blue ones. I've got one right here. Those ones are dandy. I'm quite partial to that. And so thanks, Diane, for that great gift that you've given to us. And speaking of competence, just how competent can a candidate be when he doesn't even show up to vote for himself? That's what happened in Missouri City one time during an election. It was the election for city council, and Councilman Joe Selle was running for re-election, and he forgot to vote for himself. The reason why we know that he forgot to vote for himself is that in his ward, there were no votes. Goose egg. He didn't even show up to vote for himself. In fact, he was so busy that day, he forgot that it was election day. And Ward 3 had 35 registered voters, and 0 of them came out to vote. Even though Joe got no votes, he stayed in office because no one else was successful in being elected. And the city charter requires that a councilman be selected and qualified, and that be qualified through an election. So Joe served a second term by default. In the neighboring ward of Ward 2, The turnout was slightly better. In that ward, 2 people voted. Maybe things will be better next time. I hope you have a great day, and God bless you.